At 30,000 feet, the air doesn't care about borders, treaty, or diplomatic fields. It is thin, cold, and unforgiving. But inside the cockpit of the NAV 913, a massive C-130 Hercules belonging to the Nigerian Air Force, the roar was deafening. It was the sound of raw power. Four massive turboprop engines chewing through the sky above West Africa. For squadron leader Musa, the pilot, the noise was the music of routine. It was supposed to be a milk run, a long, boring logistic mission ferrying 9 military personnel and essential equipment up to Portugal. Musa had flown this route 100 times. He checked his equipment, the dials glowing soft green in the dim light. Beside him, his co-pilot, Flight Lieutenant Daly, was scribbling fuel calculations on a knee pad. Smooth sailing, skipper, Daly said, his voice tiny over the headset. Crossing the Mali-Burkina Faso borderline now. ETA to waypoint in 40 miles. Musa nodded. Keep an eye on those headwinds, Daly. That was when the music changed. It wasn't a bang, it was a shudder. A deep violent vibration that started in the left wing and tore through the entire metal skeleton of the aircraft. It felt like a giant hand had grabbed the tail of the plane and yanked it backward. Instantly, the master caution light bathed the cockpit in angry red. Engine 3, we are losing oil pressure on number 3, Dele shouted, his calm demeanor vanishing. Musa wrestled with the yoke as the giant plane yawed violently to the left. The vibration was getting worse, shaking their vision, rattling their teeth. Feather it, shut down number 3. Daily ants flew across the overhead panel, flipping switches. The propeller on the number 3 engine slowly ground to a halt, turning the roar into an off-balance thrumming. We are heavy, Cap, Daly warned, his eyes wide. 3 engines might not hold this altitude with this cargo load. Musa felt the sweat bead under his helmet. He could feel the aircraft shaking, fighting gravity and losing. They were going down. The only question was, how fast? Check the charts, Musa commanded, his voice tight. Where can we put her down? I need a concrete, Daily. Long concrete. Papers shuffled frantically. Daly's finger stabbed at a map on his screen. The options were terrifyingly few. Below them was the sprawling, arid expanse of the Sahel, miles of scrubland and dust. Bobo Diolaso, Daly whispered. Musa's stomach dropped faster than the plane. Burkina Faso? It is the only airstrip within 50 miles that can handle a C-130, sir. If we try to push for Bamako or Niamey, we won't make it. Silence, deafening silence filled the cockpit, heavier than the cargo in the hold, Burkina Faso. A year ago, landing there would have meant a warm welcome from allies in the fight against regional terrorism. But things had changed. The political winds in the Sahel had shifted violently. Military juntas had taken over. Alliances had fractured, and Nigeria was now viewed with deep suspicion by its neighbors. Hmm. Landing a Nigerian military warplane in Burkina Faso right now wasn't just an emergency procedure. It was walking into a lion's den. But before we find out what happens when those wheels touch hostile ground, if you are enjoying this tense recounting of a real world diplomatic crisis, please take a second to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below on what you think the pilot should do. You should know that your support helps us bring the stories to life. Sir, daily pressed. We are passing 12,000 feet. We need a decision fast. Musa thought of the 9 souls in the cargo bay. Good officers, fathers, husbands. He thought of the diplomatic nightmare he was about to unleash. Get on the horn, Musa said, his jaw set. Declare the emergency. Tell Bobo Toa we are coming in, ready or not. The descent was agonizing. The C-130 lopsided and groaning fought them every inch of the way. Musa used every ounce of his experience to line up with the shimmering strip of the tarmac appearing through the dusty haze below. "They aren't responding to my mayday calls, Cap," Daly said, anxiety spiking in his voice. "They hear us," Musa grunted, wrestling the beast towards the ground. The tires hit the runway with a massive screech of burning rubber. The giant bird bounced once, twice, before settling heavily. Musa hammered the brakes and threw the remaining engines into reverse thrust. The plane shuddered violently, slowing down just before the end of the runway. It was a really close call. They had made it. They were alive. And for 10 seconds, there was only the sound of their own heavy breathing in the cockpit. "Nice flying, sir," Daly breathed out. "Don't celebrate yet," Musa said. Unbuckling his harness, he looked out the side window. The airport seemed deserted. But as the massive propellers finally spun down into silence, the environment changed. From behind the hangars and terminal buildings, vehicles emerged, not fire trucks, not ambulances. They were pickup trucks mounted with heavy machine guns, painted in desert camouflage. They didn't approach slowly, they swarmed. And within a minute, the Nigerian aircraft was completely surrounded by Burkina military vehicles. "Trouble," Daly murmured under his breath. Dozens of soldiers poured out of their trucks. They weren't carrying wrenches, they were carrying AK-47s. And every single barrel was pointed directly at the Nigerian aircraft. Musa took a deep breath and keyed the intercom to the back. "Crew, listen up. We have a situation outside. Stay calm, stay professional. We are Nigerian officers, remember that." A heavy pounding echoed through the fuselage. Someone was hammering on the crew door with the butt of a rifle. Musa and Dele moved to the rear. They opened the door. The heat of the Sahel hit them like a physical blow, compounded by the intense hostile stares of the 50 armed soldiers. A Burkina Faso commander stood at the base of the ramp, his face a mask of fury. "Get out! Get out! Get out now!" he screamed in French. Slowly, hands raised in the universal gesture of surrender, the 11 Nigerian officer walked down the ramp. They had survived the sky. But as the Burkina Faso soldier moved in, zip ties ready, shouting accusations of violating sovereign airspace and committing an unfriendly act, Musa realized their ordeal was only just beginning. They were no longer just a crew with a broken plane. They were hostages in a high-stake diplomatic poker game. As the sun beats down on the dusty tarmac, the sound of the C-130's cooling engine was replaced by the sharp click of handcuffs. Musa felt the cold steel bite into his wrist, a stark contrast to the burning heat from the tarmac. He tried to lock his eyes with Daly to reassure the younger pilot, but a soldier with a scarf wrapped around his face roughly shoved Daly towards a separate waiting truck. "We are Nigerian military," Musa shouted, his voice cracking with dry thirst. "This is a precautionary landing. We have rights." The Burkina Faso commander didn't even blink. He stepped forward, the dust swelling around his boots, and leaned in close. He didn't speak to Musa, he spoke into a radio clipped to his vest. "The package is secured," the commander said, his eyes fixed on Musa. "Await instruction from the capital." He clicked the radio off and smiled, a cold, humorless expression. "Right," he scoffed, gesturing to the desolate horizon. "Up there in the sky, you follow international law. Down here, you follow ours." Musha was shoved into the back of a canvas-covered transport truck. The heavy flap fell, plunging him into semi-darkness as the engine roared to life, and the convoy began to move. Lurching away from the safety of the aircraft, Musa realized the terrifying truth. The crash landing wasn't the disaster, it was just the opening move. And back in Abuja, phones were ringing, generals were shouting. But here in the back of a truck, driving into the unknown heart of a hostile territory, there was only the sounds of tires on the gravel and the heavy suffocating weight of silence. They were no longer pilots, they were pawns, and the game had no timer. Well, this isn't the end of the story, but let's keep our fingers crossed as the events unfold.